Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for the presentation. I have two questions. The first one is for Mr. Spratt. We have heard from different people about people being turned away from the United States for not have been charged for marijuana-related offenses, but admitting to consuming marijuana in the past. And lately we are hearing a little bit more of that and the possibility with this bill, C45, the consequence of people trying to get over to the United States. And we've even heard things go as far as some people having the risk of taking their Nexus card away and being barred from the United States. Can you comment on that, if you have any concerns? And what are your thoughts on that?
Those concerns are valid and they are legitimate. Not even the stigma that some view these offenses with remains so high that it might not even be a conviction that bars entry. And to illustrate sort of the absurdity of the situation that we're dealing with, I can let this committee know that I've had clients who have convictions, small fines, suspended sentences for small amounts of marijuana, historically decades old, who are routinely turned away from the border. And I have clients who have been convicted of manslaughter and other serious violent offenses, make it through the border no problem.
Wow.
That's what we're dealing with. And that is an illustration of some of the harms that go along with continued criminalization. And it's not because someone who has possessed marijuana is a danger to society as on par as someone who has committed manslaughter. But that's how these offenses are viewed, and that is the danger of criminalizing them and keeping them in the criminal code.
Do you think Canadians are aware of that? Or are they informed enough on that?
I don't think they are, and I think a good illustration of that is the number of Canadians who believe it's already legal to have marijuana, or like the clerk at my local convenience store told me last year, that having marijuana was legal one day a year, as long as it is done on 420 on Parliament Hill. Which I think is humorous, but I think it goes to show that it's through education and engagement that we change societal attitudes on what's harmful and what's not, and what's dangerous and what's not, and it's not through criminalization.
Thank you. My second question is for the Canadian Bar Association. We have heard a lot, the committee, from different people, talked a lot about the education. We need more education on the risk associated with cannabis, but we don't seem to have heard maybe as much or nearly not enough on the education of the consequences of the law when it comes in possession of the home growth or the age limit, etc. In your opinion, are Canadians, young and old, well informed and aware enough of the consequences of C45? And if they're not fully aware of the consequences of C45, what would be the impact on our juridical system?
First of all, Canadians are not nearly informed enough about the impact of this legislation. There is massive misunderstanding, and I think the average Canadian has no idea what is in a very large bill. Because people get their information from the news, and you'll see a few seconds on television. That doesn't tell you what is going on. Because of the lack of information people have, they will easily be able to transgress into serious criminality. And that will have a serious impact on our criminal justice system. It will add in a lot more cases in the courts. It will cause a lot more delay. It will strap resources not only for the Crown, which has to prosecute these cases, but for individuals charged and for legal aid plans where legal aid will cover those. And there will also be many people who legal aid will not cover. So they'll have to face the criminal justice system alone, and that will cause even more delay, because the last thing any judge wants is an unrepresented accused person in court. I trust that answers.
Yes, please.
Yes. Listen, it's undeniable that ignorance is not an acceptable defense. Ignoring the law doesn't mean you can't respect it. But it doesn't mean that people are aware of the situation and of the bill. I agree with those who have just responded. And the Barreau stated this. There is an important duty of education, targeting young people in particular and other vulnerable groups. At the Barreau, we have begun our thinking on this, and there is Éducalois, an organization that is going to raise awareness and develop programs targeting youth directly. But this won't be systematic, and it won't be compulsory either. It's part of the curriculum in colleges, CEGEPs, and secondary schools, but the curriculum is already fully loaded, and there isn't much room for this. My predecessor from CBA stated, listen, if you change the legal framework to such a detailed extent, you must absolutely ensure that everyone is aware of the situation, because people will commit crimes without knowing that they're guilty of a crime.